Hey, this is Sam from Playing Dead, and you're listening to Joel Does Music.
What's up? This is Joel from Joel Does Music. On the show, we barely, actually, as a matter of fact, we rarely have what I consider to be a Long Island music scene legend, but we got one today. I'm so hyped about it. He is a member of the band Playing Dead, and also he's a podcast host, Red River Podcast. Check that stuff out. I got Sam with me on the show. What's going on, dude?
I almost threw up in my own mouth when you said legend, but that's fine. I mean, if you live from Jersey, I might seem like someone who occasionally does stuff, but thank you so much. Yeah, man, thanks for having me, and looking forward to, talking everything that you want to talk about.
Well, before we do that, I think a huge congratulations are in order, man, because you had not one, but two songs play on SiriusXM's Faction Punk, Channel 314. You can't say no.
And don't get stressed, you know you're gonna look great. Time flies by and Mark's gonna play it.
And the latest one, Emily Rugburn. How does that feel? Like, that's gotta be awesome to say, hey, I had some of my songs play on SiriusXM, it's a cool feeling.
Yeah, as you get older, certain things are just like, like it's very cool, I guess, Sometimes I think, I could probably, Instagram is such a powerful tool, and so is Spotify, that I feel like you reach more people doing stuff like that. But, it is great to, turn on to Faction and hear like, Alkaline Trio and then your song after, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a trip for sure. And I never, like, I'm a big Stern guy. So like, I only went over to listen to Stern from like, from Jump, and I didn't really pay attention to the music channels because I had Spotify. So I would, listen to my own stuff. And then one day I listened to Faction after they added the song, and the curation on there is really, really good. Like, there's actually like a lot of great new stuff, like Sincere Engineer mixed in with old stuff like Descendants. So yeah, it's very cool.
Since you mentioned Sincere Engineer, they're one of the newer bands that I actually got into recently because they toured with Newfound Glory, I think for the 20th anniversary of Catalyst last year. Would you say like the future of pop punk and emo is pretty secure, or are there some bands that we need to see more of? Like, what's your take on the future of the genre? I'm
gonna ruin your whole I don't know anything about pop punk or emo. I'm an indie rock guy, a hip hop guy. Sincere Engineer just happens to be one of those bands that I listen to because they were aligned with the Smoking Popes, and the Smoking Popes are, fantastic. So that's like more of like my universe. But I mean, sure, I guess pop punk seems like it'll be doing just fine.
I feel like pop punk is popular nowadays. Like, it comes in waves. You had like the first wave of pop punk, the second wave, which was the 90s with like Green Day and The Offspring. Then the third wave with bands like Good Charlotte, Paramore.
Yeah, sure.
But I feel like now it's very nostalgia based. I don't know if like you can even relate that to hip hop nowadays, where we have modern artists who kind of incorporate those 90s influences and samples and kind of make a nostalgia based sound.
I think everything is just like, man, for me, I just hit play, whatever it is, it is. I the older you get, like, you just hear like genre terms, and it's fine. I get it. It's a way to just being like, oh, this is grunge music, and it's like, well, okay, I don't even know what that means, but and automatically I'm thinking Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, and fucking anything else, and I'm thinking like bands that sound nothing like. But I guess it's just like, you hit play, and if it's cool, it's cool. I don't really know. I just know what I like. I don't really know what anyone does for their sound as far as like, oh, this is nostalgia or whatever. Like, everything just comes in circles, like I never thought the mullet would come back, but now you see every kid on the planet with a mullet. And I'm like, I thought we buried this, but we didn't. Some kids are like, hey, you know what? I fuck with the mullet. And I'm like, all right, yeah, man, do you?
You know what I haven't seen in a few years, actually, and I think it died out in the 2010s? The man bun. Like, have you seen anyone sporting that recently? I don't think I have, man.
Well, the man bun was very maligned, so I think, it was a very, it was an easy target, and I think it was more modern. The mullet was like, I mean, mullet's like mid 80s, early 90s and stuff. But the man bun, you know, in another 10 years, I'm sure it'll come right back around, you know. I mean, we saw Kendrick with wearing flare jeans, and I was just like, wow, I haven't seen those since like, you know, high school, and, you know, girls smoking cigarettes while people played handball.
Well, it's crazy because after his halftime show performance, the sale of flare jeans shot up by like, I think the triple digits. I want to say the 200%. So it might make a comeback. Don't be surprised if you see them on the streets, man.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, listen, whatever for me in life, I go by one motto, you know, you do you and I do me. You know, that's it.
Exactly, man. I agree with you 100%. So, Emily Rugburn and You Can't Say No. Let's touch on those songs a little bit because every time I've heard those songs and like even the rest of your discography, I just keep thinking the hooks, like you know how to write a really solid hook, especially on Emily Rugburn. Talk to me about how you came up with that song and kind of what it means to you or how you want people to interpret it. I know, right. I know.
No. That's you're awesome, Joel. I fuck with you. It's just funny when I think of like you're good, like you're like as soon as I sit here, I'm like this guy knows what he's doing, which makes sense if you work with Eamon.
Shout out Eamon.
So Emily Rugburn is about a movie. It's a movie character. So there's a movie called Almost Famous that came out in 2000, and there was a character named Penny Lane in that movie played by Kate Hudson. So that's really what the song is about. It's just like straight up. One day I was home with like COVID, and I was just like sitting playing guitar, watching Almost Famous for like the 100th time, and I just started writing this song. And it was only fun and games till they sold you out for beer, because that's what happened in the movie. They sold her for beer, and but she gets her revenge at the end. You know, she kind of like does her thing and finds that that piece that she always wanted to find. And listen, if anyone listens to Emily Rugburn, the title too, right? We were gonna call it Penny Lane, but I'm like, yo, that's just mad obnoxious if we call it Penny Lane. Right. So I was like, let's go with let me just rewatch it for the 101 time. And then what I realized was she signed into the hotel room under Emily Rugburn. So that was her fake name in the movie. And there's a scene in the movie where like this kid, Jay Baruchel, who now is like, you know, pretty famous actor, directed a horror movie and all that other shit. He goes to Patrick Fugit and he's like, hey, Emily Rugburn, Penny Lane's in town, but she's at this place under the name Emily Rugburn. And it's a very funny scene. So I was like, Emily Rugburn, let's do it.
Dude, that is sick. And it's funny you bring up that movie because I've never seen it in full, but it's coming back to me in bits and pieces where I would just surf the channels on TV. And like, I remember seeing Kate Hudson in that movie. And like, that's a throwback. I'm like, oh, shit. Penny Lane. Okay, I remember that movie a little bit. It's throwback, man. Yeah. It really is.
I mean, you were probably sperm at that point, so who knows?
Nah, man. Let's see. I'm 29, so if it came out in 2000.
You were like 4 or some shit.
Yeah, I was 5, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sick. So speaking of other songs that have different meanings, I heard that Wherever, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the song is Wherever You Are Tonight.
Yeah.
It's about a cat or your cat.
Yeah. You would never know by listening to it, right? So we I mean, that's the whole point, right? You don't want to, even Emily Rugburn, if I didn't tell you that, like it doesn't, I mean, that's a little bit more on the nose if you know the movie. So me and my girlfriend had these 2 cats, and it was the first 2 cats that we had as a couple, and you know, they both got sick. They both had this like cat leukemia, so that's why we took them in, because they were sick. And they spent like 4 years with us, and one got sick, and then the other one kind of like went like a month or 2 after. And man, it was fucking devastating. Like, you know, like for me, you know, I come from like the era of like, you know, no emotion. We don't like, that's it. We just swallow that shit. That's what it is. So, you know, like that's just like, but goddamn, these cats, like they brutalized my insides when they went. And I wrote the song for them. And like if you hear it now, you'll understand. But it's just, it just plays off as kind of like a loss of anything. So you could relate it to anything like that. But yeah, it's brutal.
Well, first off, I'm so sorry for your loss, man. Like the loss of, not just a human being, but a pet that you cherish. It fucking takes a toll on you. But also, that's what makes a good songwriter, man. The fact that you kind of bamboozled us into thinking, oh, it's about missing someone or no longer being together with someone when it was just about your cats. Like, whoa, it's powerful lyricism, man. Good on you for that.
Yeah, man, thanks. Just, after a while, I laugh, when, I've been with my girlfriend for like 13 years and shit. So like after a while, it's like there's only so much shit you could sing about. So it's like different things like inspire you, whether it's a movie or, your two fucking cats dying.
Ah, man. Well, going into your music a little bit, you've been in Playing Dead for how long? I want to say like 13 to 15 years, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, so like we've been playing music for a long time, and we just never changed the name. You could arguably say it's been 8 different bands, but yeah, like maybe like 20. Like you could really get the lineage from like 2014, maybe.
Okay.
So it's like once that started, the lineup started being more concrete. The songs started taking more of a, shape where you're just like, okay, this is kind of like the sound and stuff like that. And through the years, a drummer will leave or a guitar player will leave and stuff but me and my friend Dave are always, we are the band 100% as far as like the members that constantly stay. But yeah.
What I find amazing is that when I was looking at your discography, you pretty much write music every year. And I was thinking to myself, how the hell do you have the mental capacity and the inspiration to write banger after banger, hit after hit, at least in my opinion, with those powerful hooks every year? Like, is there a secret to your songwriting formula, or do you just let it flow? Like, how is it possible?
I mean, any monkey could write a melody, right? So you hear it all the time. Like you hear the wackest, like fucking like, trap song or some shit. And it's just like, oh, okay. Like, like whatever my niece listens to, like she sent me some stuff. I'm not even going to say the guy's name, but I was like, this shit sounds, and I get it. Like, I don't want to sound like the old guy to my niece. So I wasn't, but in my head, I'm thinking like, this is fucking terrible. But it follows like this, like you could put somebody in a trance with the right piano sound and like, so you could do that shit all day long. The only difference is we do it with a guitar. So like, like we just come up with a stupid hook. And then from there, like we just don't write difficult songs, like we take complete pride in songwriting. But I just feel like everyone has a song. Like anyone could just come up with a melody. You could be in the shower and like hear a melody in your head and sing it. And if somebody put a guitar to it, you'd be like, oh shit, this is like a banger song. So it's like, it's just really taking time with the craft. It's like you put in the 1,000 hours and eventually you just know what works and what doesn't. But for us, hooks are very big. That's what I like.
Yeah, man. Whenever I listen to those hooks, I think of bands like Get Up Kids, Lemonheads. I think of Alkaline Trio at times because they are masters of their craft. And that's you too, essentially, if you think about it that way.
Thank God you read that bio. Otherwise, you would have said 3 of the names that would have just broke my heart. Yes, all 3 of those. Yeah, I mean, 100%.
It also helps that I kind of know my shit too. Like I genuinely listen to these bands, so I'm not like a poser just throwing off these bands. I'm like, I hope he approves.
No. I'm busting your balls. So Lemonheads was a very big one for me. Where all my friends were listening to hardcore and Sick of It All and VOD, which I love. I love those bands. I heard the Lemonheads and I heard Pedro the Lion and I heard these bands that just wrote these like really cool power pop songs. And to me, I was like, that's what I want to do.
You kind of like I want to say the dark horse of your social group. Everyone's listening to hardcore music and like you like it a little bit, but you're like, nah, I like my music with, power pop influence hooks. I'm just gonna, do my own thing,
I think hooks really for me, like, and I think it really, really, really started with the Smashing Pumpkins, right? So like when you hear like anything off of Gish, which was like 1991, or even Nirvana, really, like, if you want to take it there, everything just had this hook where it's like, okay, these are heavy guitars, but then we have this like really, sugary hook over like, Cherub Rock or something, and that just caught my ear. And I get it. Some people don't. Some people just want, they want to scream and, fucking break shit. And like, I get it. It's probably a lot of fun to be in a hardcore band and do that stuff and play guitar. And, yeah, to me, it's just like when I hear melodies and harmonies, I'm like, this is what I fuck with.
And it's amazing because that talent of your songwriting and all the influences that you've gained and poured into your music, it's taken you all across Long Island, taking you all across New York. Talk to me about how important the Long Island music scene was for you when you were developing your craft. I mean, you've had some amazing bands coming out of Long Island, like The Movie Life, Taking Back Sunday is a big one, of course, Face to Face, Glassjaw. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Face to Face is from Cali.
Well, you know what? Yeah.
Although I do wish they were from Long Island, because out of the bands you mentioned, that's my favorite for sure.
I meant to say Mind Over Matter. I don't know why Face to Face came into my head.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. For sure. I just had dinner with the singer of that band a couple of days ago, a good friend of mine, and we used to do a podcast together. We used to do a podcast called If I Rule the World. We had everyone from like fucking Michael Alec to Phil Anselmo to like all these like we had a wild array of guests on that show, and we did like 60 episodes, and I love that dude. Yeah, I mean, so those bands in particular were all influential, but they were kind of like my age, so it was just and I didn't really start playing music till like later, so I wasn't really paying attention to any of that stuff. The one band that I will mention that made me want to play music when I was, my early 20s, I saw a band called The Devil Himself. This guy, Jason, would like, when all these bands were just doing these hardcore bands, like I heard The Devil Himself, and later on they turned into a band called Small Arms Dealer, which had a really cool, like, it just like the guitar player, like everything about it was just unbelievable. Like I couldn't believe the songwriting that they were coming up with. So that was one of those bands, even at a later age, because I'm going to tell you, I didn't really start playing music till I was like 27.
Really? Get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
no way.
Like I would play music, but it wasn't like anything maybe it's 24, 20, like somewhere in like my mid 20s, where like one day my friend's like, we should start a band. And I was like, you know what? I'm done, allegedly doing criminal activity, like whatever else I was doing. I was like, all right, you know what? I was like, let's fucking play music. And yeah, so there was like a lot of growing pains. Like we did our high school years in our mid 20s when we were trying to figure out how to be in a band. But, that 1,000 hours theory really is true. We just kept, I felt like our ideas in the beginning were better than what we were doing. So there's like a lot of embarrassing things. There's a lot of embarrassing things even on Spotify where I'm like, oh, this sounds like fucking complete horseshit. But the ideas were there. So yeah, like I would say The Devil Himself and Jason Lebrano, I always tell him it might be like a year apart, but like watching him do things that I liked that I didn't hear on Long Island, I was like, oh, you could do this? I thought we just had to be in like a hardcore band and like do like, and it was like, no, you could do this too. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this. And that was a big influence for me. But yeah, I mean, we come from Long Island where, like you said, Movie Life, Taking Back Sunday, actually the song that you mentioned, Wherever You Are Tonight, Mark from Taking Back Sunday played drums on that song.
I saw the video for that. Yeah.
No longer in the band, but we still love him. Yeah. So, and what were the other two? Mind Over Matter, definitely older. Mind Over Matter influenced those two bands 100% for sure. VOD was huge. VOD like was for me like VOD when they first came out. Vision of Disorder was like one of those bands that made me like put down my Lemonheads cassette for a minute and be like, "Yo, what is this?" And it was fucking banging. So Vision of Disorder is like one of the like top tier, like God level Long Island bands if you want to like a hardcore band. Yeah.
Ooh, that's so dope. So out of all the venues on Long Island that you've played at, what would you say is like the number one that you'd recommend to anyone to bring them over to the Long Island music scene?
Mr. Beery's 100% is like the owner. Steve is amazing. Like I've seen that guy have touring bands in on a Monday and there was no one there except for a couple of people, and he's buying the merch just to support the band. So to me, the importance of that place to me, whenever you just want to put together a fucking local show with 4 fucking banger bands, like that's the place. The importance of that, like when that place goes, whenever that is, maybe in 100 years, like we're all gonna miss it. For right now, it's just we're very lucky to have a place that's always willing to give bands like us a home to do whatever we want.
And I think that's so important to have in a music scene like on Long Island, because I think nowadays when it comes to getting support from even owners of a venue, I'm going to tread carefully here. I'm not trying to diss anyone, but I feel like whenever you try to play at a local gig, no. But my point is, whenever you try to play at a local venue or you try to book shows, you don't really get a whole lot of support like that, where the owner is literally going out of their way to buy your merch or buy your CDs. It's just you get there. All right, here's the set time. Here are the show times. That's it. Where's my cut? Here's your cut. That's it. So just that level of support, I think it's astonishing, really.
Yeah, I mean, every place does their thing and does it differently. So I just think like on a Joe Schmo level,
yeah,
no egos there, no nothing. The staff is always great. When there's a lot of cool places to play. I mean, not that many, a lot of places close down, but that place is just like this. It's like this fucking flag that's always waving. And you're just like, you know what? I got 2 friends coming out from out of town and we're going to put together the show. And you just hit up the booker. And from there, you just make it happen. And everyone is so accommodating there that it's unreal.
Mulcahy seems like a pretty cool venue too. Like I've heard about it, I've seen pictures, but I've yet to go there. Is that like another one on your list too?
Well, I mean, Mulcahy's holds like 1,800 people.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, like it's like, I mean, we played 2 shows there. So in 2021, we did 3 shows with Taking Back Sunday and Straight Light Run, and 2 of them were there. Awesome place. I just saw the Get Up Kids and the anniversary there. But yeah, you're not booking like it's not like it's not like going to Starland and being like, I think I'm going to put together a show. But sure, Mulcahy is why not? It's fun to have a place like that so close to have national acts for sure.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I know that you actually opened for Taking Back Sunday, I think in 2021 at Starland. How was that? Like, were you thinking in your head, like comparing and contrasting venues, or was it just, it's just another show. I'm opening for Taking Back Sunday, one of my favorite bands.
No, definitely, we were, we're just some jerk off band that happens to be friends with the drummer. I mean, that's really all it came down to. And he was like, it's as simple as like, yo, the whole time we've been friends, you've never asked to like play a show with us. And I'm like, yeah, because I know my lane. So, it was one of those opportunities where he was just like, yeah, he's like, let's just do, you could open. And for us, it was extra special because I love Straight Light Run. And when, like those 2 bands obviously have their history. So when you find out that they're playing together and we're going to be the opening band on 3 out of those 4 shows. Yeah, and Starland, unbelievable. Great staff. Like, that was such a fun place to go. Like, I've seen many bands there from, like, Danzig to, like, I don't even remember what else. And, yeah, getting to play there. I mean, anytime you're a nobody like us, just some local dickhead band and we get to do cool shit, it's always going to be cool.
Dude, I love Starland. I go to Taking Back Sunday's holiday show every year, but I have to admit, I regret not hopping on the tickets for the show that you were on. I think it was a Saturday because it sold out, and I was like, God damn it. So I messed up on my end. I could have seen you, but I goofed up. I procrastinated big time, so I apologize, man.
Yeah. No worries. Next time we play Starland in 20 years, you'll be there.
So we talked about music. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast, Red River Podcast. You talk about not just music, but pop culture and movies too. There's a subject I'm dying to talk to you about because I think you are a connoisseur when it comes to it. It's horror movies. What do you think makes a horror movie a great one?
Well, it depends on the person. It's like whatever your buttons are. When that movie pushes those buttons, that's really what it comes down to. Like I don't give a fuck about supernatural movies. So when I watch one, I'm like, this shit's whack. I don't care about like church, immaculates and all that other shit because it just doesn't connect with me. Now, if I see a home invasion movie or a torture movie or some like, slasher shit, then I'm like, okay, yeah, this hits my button. So it just depends on what you're into. For me, the movies, as you get older, you just realize, movies are just movies. But as you get older, I tend to go with more of like the evil that men do. So when you see like whatever evil your neighbor could do, that seems to push my buttons a little bit more of like, oh shit, like like you got to fight for your life on this one, not some like supernatural or some like Jason dude. It's like, somebody that that you could kill just as easy as well, I guess.
I get that, man. I feel like with horror movies nowadays, I kind of see it as like refreshing when it incorporates a little bit of humor, whether it's like satire, like commentary on, today's world, or even I want to say like deadpan comedy. And like a movie that comes to mind where like they do a great job of blending gore, a storyline that's really cohesive, and just like comedic moments is Terrifier. Like I genuinely love the first two movies. Like I just think they do a great job with molding everything together, really.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're preaching to the choir on that. When I saw the first Terrifier, it blew me away so much that we had the director on the show, before. I mean, we had him on so early that he was willing to drive to the town that I lived in just so I could talk about his movie. Because like no one, like the Facebook page had like 600 likes or something. We ended up doing it on Skype, but I mean my point is like he, it was very early on, and I remember watching this movie by myself and thinking, this is the first one, very unapologetic, very brutal, and everyone gets it. So you can't beat that.
100%. So this is a question that might take a while for you to come up with an answer for, but I just want to ask it because I'm dying to know. What movies would you consider to be the Mount Rushmore of horror films?
That's tough. That's tough because it's like, today, tomorrow, like everything's always just, I'm one of those people that like, I like everything, so it's, but I for the sake of the show, I'll be less obnoxious about it. I guess I would go Halloween 1978.
Classic.
It's, if you were to put that movie on today for a 14-year-old, they would probably kill themselves because they would think it's the most boring shit on the planet. But, when you're a kid and you're watching this, it really, it just worked, but like, I don't know. Yeah. As a grown ass man watching it for the first time is probably like, this is just like, I can't, but my number one for sure. The second I would probably, man, this is tough, Return of the Living Dead, 1985, a little bit more comedic, but like still brutal, has the punk rockers. Arguably maybe the best zombie movie of all time. You know, it's just fucking perfect. Then I would fast forward a little bit to I'm actually gonna say Terrifier. I'll go with the first Terrifier
Ooh,
because it's a modern classic and really just involving everything that I love, you know, which is just pure barbaric brutality, unapologetic to anyone. You know, it's like if you don't like it, don't watch it and shut the fuck up. The last one I will say is the best horror movie of the modern day of the last 25 years, easily. French movie called Martyrs. That is just unbelievable. You know, it's a ride, and I couldn't recommend it more. Not the fucking remake, the fucking 2008 version of Martyrs is just like a savage plot of like just a mind fuck, and big fan.
damn, that's a hell of a collection, man. Wow, I'm stunned. Seriously.
You're stunned that I picked four movies?
No, just your choices. I knew that Terrifier was going to be there, but of course, how could it not be? Like, it's a really great modern day horror movie.
Well, originally I had Inside, that French movie, but it's just I could pick 100 movies, but I think Terrifier broke a lot of walls, so it's hard not to include it. Yeah, I mean, you know, ask me tomorrow, I'll give you a different four movies.
That's how I feel about music. It's like, who are your top 5 bands? I'll give you 5 different choices today, and then tomorrow it might be different depending on my freaking mood.
If you can give 5 bands, you don't really like music.
You think that, really?
Yeah,
I could give you my top 5 bands right now.
go ahead.
All right. Sum 41, Green Day. I'm going to go Thrice, Radiohead, and oh, god damn. This is tough now. Okay. 5, I'd probably do Oasis.
Okay, interesting. So, the first two I don't really know much about, but you know, I know that the first show I ever went to was Green Day. First show
Yeah,
I ever,
really?
yeah, at Irving Plaza.
Okay.
So when we got to play Irving Plaza, that was like a very big, cool deal for me. I was like, this is the first place I ever played a show. Now the third one is interesting, right? You said Radiohead.
Yes.
So you're gonna follow them towards everything. Like to me, like I go to Kid A. Kid A is like
Love it.
Pablo Honey, you know, the Benz, OK Computer, Kid A. Like if you give me those four with the, you know, the Airbag EPs and all everything mixed in, that's what I really like. Everything else I don't really love. I know people are gonna say "Hail to the Thief" and all that other shit, but you follow them. Do you celebrate even King of Limbs? That's a fucking whack ass album.
I do. Granted, I think for that to follow up In Rainbows, a little sus choice. I mean, it's too experimental.
Oh,
It's
In
not-
Rainbows. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. In Rainbows is phenomenal, but my favorite Radiohead album is I'm gonna go with Kid A. Although at times it changes to the Bends. I feel like the Bends is an improvement on Pablo Honey. I feel like that's truly like when they wiped the slate off clean. That should have been their debut album and not Pablo Honey.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I was following you until you went there. Pablo Honey is fucking phenomenal. I Can't is on there, Thinking About You. You just the opening, like, I mean,
I love it.
the Benz is amazing, but we can't erase Pablo Honey. That, you know, that record's fucking, you should revisit it.
Okay.
Now Thrice, you know, artists, they after Vishu, I kind of like tapped out, and maybe like the water and all that other shit, the Alchemy,
Alchemy
right?
Index, yeah.
But then I went back and I you know, once they, you know, they put out some, oh God, I forgot the second to last album. But what would you say your favorite Thrice album is? Because they've had quite a career.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think they're the Radiohead of post-hardcore. Like, they've transcended the genre completely. So my favorite would have to be Visu, 110%.
Oh, cool.
Definite.
All right. And then the last one, Oasis. So do you celebrate the catalog as well, or are you like the first two albums type of guy?
as of within the past year, their whole catalog, like when I first got into them, it was because of Guitar Hero World Tour. So it was only, their first 2 albums. But as I've gotten older, I was like, you know what? Let me dig into their discography. And like, even though their albums in the 2000s aren't as strong enough as their first 2, there's some solid songs in there. People just need to give them a chance.
So aside from the first 2, right? So like, to me, I think "Dig Out Your Soul," right, the last thing that they put out is the best thing.
Yep.
So the first 2 albums, leave those out. What would you recommend for anyone listening to get into Oasis that aren't the first 2?
Either "Dig Out Your Soul," because I think that's their Revolver album. Either "Dig Out Your Soul" or "Standing on the Shoulder of Giants," which came out in 2000. That was their really, that was a really, for anyone watching who doesn't, quite know the album, it's their really psychedelic and experimental album.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I when they did "Dig Out Your Soul," I was like, man, some bangers on that. And then they broke up. Then Liam did "Beady Eye," which I didn't care for, but that first Noel Gallagher and the Flying Birds album was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Now I think it's a little lopsided where Noel's doing some stuff that I'm not that into, but Liam's doing a lot of cool stuff. So, like the last 2 Liam solo albums, right, were really good. He's got a lot of good songwriters around him. So, but all right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't give you 5 bands.
I mean, like, it happens, but like, it just, when it comes to like my top 5 or top 10 bands, I get into it. I'm like, let's freaking go. I'll give you a debate. We'll have some analysis in there any day of the week. You got me fired up.
Nah, I had to G-check you on those. That's all. No worries.
Did I get your seal of approval?
I mean, listen, if those are your favorites, even like Green Day, right? So Green Day, like Dookie was a big deal, but immediately after that, I just lost interest, which was like Insomniac. Is that what it was?
That was a follow-up, yeah.
Like Brain Stew, like Dan, like that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's fine. They're good at what they do. And then Sum 41, I don't really know anything other than what's that? Fat Lip.
Oh, Fat Lip's the big one. Yeah, during the MTV era. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So actually, my friend has been their publicist forever. Shout out to Dana and Big Picture Media. So I think they just did like their final tour, right?
Yeah, they're officially broken up. Done.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like Fat Lip stuff, right? Oh, In Too Deep. Cause I'm in too deep. But I know the casual stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and then that other one with like it sounded like a Thrice song. It had like the action figure video.
Oh, Hell Song.
Okay, yeah. That was
was from like Does It Look Infected. So like they had their pop punk album, then they got progressively heavier, went back to pop punk, and then got back to being heavy.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta check that album out, man. That and there's an album called Chuck, which is my personal favorite. That's where they go full on alternative metal.
Cool.
Good shit, man.
So early stuff, like early Thrice, Identity Crisis and Illusion of Safety, right?
Yeah.
Like though they had that thing where it's like they had these hooks, but like their guitar playing was like shred.
Yeah, and then they kind of not simplified it, but like tone it down a bit, where like they emphasize more on just minimalism and like soundscapes, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely on Vishu, I think, for sure.
Love Vishu. Damn, dude, this was great. Sam of Playing Dead and the Red River Podcast. Bro, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
All right, well, hopefully, you can save whatever nonsense I was talking. So, but thank you for having me, man.
So the floor is all yours, man. What's next for Playing Dead or the Red River Podcast? What else have you got going on? What are you in the works for?
Sure. The podcast is just something we do whenever we want. We just music, movies, pop culture. Sometimes we'll have somebody on. So yeah, like that's whatever. Check in whenever we feel like fucking doing one. The band. So yeah, we're liking the single stuff. So we dropped the 6 singles last year and we'll probably just keep doing the same thing. We're about to record 3 songs. We have a video coming out for the song Super Wayne. And that's it. You're just constantly writing. We're not a touring band, so in my head, I'm thinking like, well, if we're not doing that, then we're just gonna continue to just write and try to write the biggest hook we can. Always. That's it.
Dude, come to Jersey for one of your shows, man. We'll meet up, have a good time. Got to see you guys live, man. That's definitely on my list of bands to see.
Yeah, sure. Jersey has been very cool to us. I met Jeff from Back Pocket at QXT, and we've done like the Saint, which I don't even think is there anymore. Like that's Asbury. That's way
It might
south of
still
you.
be there. I played there a couple years ago. It might still be there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we played a couple of years ago, so I don't know.
It's a big question mark.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we love Jersey. We'll be there
Awesome, man. Sam, thanks again, dude. Much love, and hopefully I get to see you soon, man.
for sure. Joel,
All right,
thanks.
man. Take care. Peace.